Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. We have such a cool, interesting guest today. This guy's funny as hell, and he's incredibly talented. We're with the one and only Seth Walker. He's an excellent Americana artist. And a couple of quick announcements. I want to thank our mutual friend, Steve Mackey. Mackey, you're a good man. I am eager to have a whiskey and a cigar with you. That will happen. But thank you for hooking Seth and I up. Also, make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/subscribe. To subscribe to the show. If you're listening to us on YouTube already, hit the subscribe button and that little icon that looks like a bell. That helps us get recommended by YouTube, and I appreciate that. All right, quickly on Seth. He's a well-known Americana and blues artist. He's a triple threat as a great songwriter, a real guitar player, as opposed to like a lot of Americana artists that are, you know, nothing wrong with it, but he's actually a legit guitar player. And he's got a great soulful voice. I kind of like, this is my description. That's not like from the bio or something, because that's all true. Prior to COVID, Seth had been consistently touring and performing at venues and festivals around the world. Along with headlining shows, he's opened for the Mavericks, the Wood Brothers, Raul Malo, Paul Thorn, and Ruthie Foster, among others. Bill Hines and, right? That's Paul Thorn's guitar player. Bill Hines, did you talk with him?
Yeah. I don't know if he's still playing with him, but I think he is.
No, I don't. I don't think he is. And he was with him for a very long time. And having a brain fart on who Ruthie's guitar player is. Sorry. Since 1998, Seth has released 10 albums. He's broken into the top 20 of Americana Radio Charts and reached #2 on the Billboard Blues Album Chart. His last record is Are You Open? And he also has a couple of new singles out called Warm Love and We Got This. He's got a lot of musical influences, and they all come out in his music, but somehow he has created his own niche. So, you know, it's not like sometimes you hear a guy, oh, let me do some flamenco music. Let me do some Jamaican influence or reggae influence. This is Seth Walker, man. He has a very unique way of combining some different influences he has, and everything sounds like him, which is really difficult to do, and he does it really well. And he's also got a book coming out, which his biography, which is literally the best title I've ever heard. It's called Your Van is on Fire, and he'll talk about that today as well. Man, it's a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for your time.
Man, my pleasure, Craig. Thank you for inviting me, dude.
Definitely, man. So your bio, you got a very interesting background. I was eager to talk to you. Your bio said your parents are classically trained musicians and you grew up on a commune in rural North Carolina. So if you can, Seth, talk about what that was like and how it influenced you or how it influenced how you look at things as a child and even now as an adult.
Oh, goodness. Well, I guess I can just start at the beginning. It was, my parents, both classical musicians, my father a cellist, mom a violinist, and they've basically taught music their whole life. And I guess it was around maybe 1972 or 73, where they met this other couple at this Quaker retreat. It's called Quaker Lake. And they became friends with these guys, Jim and Susan Walton, and they just had this idea they just became friends, and they said, well, why don't we just build this log house and live as one family? So it was 9 of us living there. This is outside of Elon College. I don't know if you're familiar, but
I'm not.
right in the middle of the state, tobacco country, man, like right in the middle of the state. And so I grew up. We had about 15 acres of land. And so it was a very, obviously, unconventional way of growing up. So, you know, that was kind of out the window. So you literally, the whole thing was an improvisation. Yeah. So I grew up in an improv, basically. And I think that really, you know, obviously was, you know, is the core and the base of my kind of creative spirit. I mean, I would just go out and play with the trees, and I was always around music and always around art and always around a free place for my mind to kind of wander, and that pretty much started my whole creative path.
So there's 4 adults and 5 kids.
Yeah.
Wow, I cannot imagine what that was. So Yeah, man. Was it because most families are pretty dysfunctional. Was it like, so, but it's your own family, so you're that's your normal for your own dysfunction. What is that like when like wacky shit's going on and you're like, I don't even know the right question to ask you here, but
yeah, I know. It's a strange thing. It's a strange thing. I was so young, I didn't know anything different. I mean, it's just, how I grew up. It wasn't obviously a decision that I made. But I guess to get to your point, maybe it was, they kind of kept each other in check.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It was almost like that was the marriage, was our family with them.
Yeah. So interesting.
And so, and it was a half a generation age gap between the two families. They were about 10 years older than us. Okay. And they were not musicians and creative types. They were, Jim was a pharmacist and Susan was a nurse. So maybe there was a little bit of a yin and yang kind of thing that balanced things out.
Were you homeschooled?
I mean, I'm sure there was some wacky shit that went down. Like, for God's sakes, they shared money. Literally.
Oh my God.
They had a household account that they would buy the groceries with. So somebody was like, shit, I wanted Fruit Loops. I'm sure there was some of that.
Yeah. Were you homeschooled?
I was not. I went to a Quaker friends school that my father taught at. I did that for 4 years, 1st through 5th grade, and then I went to the public schools. We weren't homeschooled.
Okay. Was it weird, like when one of your friends invited you home to their house, you were like, man, you only got 2 parents living here? Like,
yeah, this is so weird.
Yeah. It must have been like that had to be an adjustment.
It was. Well, I know that my friends, when they came out to see me, they were like, what the hell's going on out here?
Wow.
They loved it. I mean, because it was always something going on. I mean, that was, to get back to your point earlier, was like, I always was entertained. Right. I was always entertaining. There was always some kind of always something stimulating going on in that house. I mean, in the early days, we had a lot of people that would come visit too. I write about it in the book. There's an essay in the book called Live a Little, and it's about the living room of that house and how that was my first stage I ever had. And that's the same with a lot of artists. That's, when you're growing up, that's where you first try some shit out.
Yeah.
And we had all kinds of crazy, and we had Tibetan monks that came and stayed with us. We had all kinds of interesting people that would pass through this little hippie incubator. It was, and I had a front row seat. It was awesome.
Yeah. That's just so amazing. When you hear something like that, that's so different than what you're used to. It's almost hard. Like if someone came to me and said, hey man, how about you and your wife and me and my wife move in? I'd be like, bitch, get that.
That sounds like a good idea.
Fucking hell no.
No, that does not sound like a good idea.
How about you ask somebody else that question? Because
yeah, I like staying with myself, me myself and I.
Yeah, it's just so wild. It's amazing, man. Mm-hmm. But I could see how you from a creativity standpoint, it was probably nothing better for you, especially your folks being musicians and all these other kids there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I did an interview with someone, and they asked. I guess they had recently done an interview with Dr. John, and they were asking him about how nature influences his music. He was just talking about growing up on the bayou and being around all that swamp and all that, thing. And it resonated with me too, because that's where the spirits are, like it's up in the trees, it's in the dirt, for me.
Man, you know who told me something exactly like that? I had Duane Betts on here, Dickie Betts' son.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me his dad turned him on to that. He goes, spend time in nature. That's where everything is.
It is.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It truly is. I mean, I remember just, those were the days, man, where you get home from school and you'd be gone on your bike or just exploring, and you get back, get your ass back for supper, and that,
yeah.
And that was a really, really beautiful way to grow up, and it really did. It really is the kind of the catalyst, as I said, for my creativity. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. That was super interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started playing cello, I'm assuming, because you said your dad was a cellist.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you get into playing guitar? Like, how old were you, and how'd that come about?
Well, let's see. Yeah, so I played cello from age about 5 until 16.
Oh, so you're like a legit cello player.
I mean, yeah, I played a lot. That's my sister is a serious violinist. I mean, she's still playing. She started when she was 3. I learned from this. It's called the Suzuki method, which is ear training method. That's how my parents taught, and so. But it wasn't that it was taught with an iron fist or anything. It wasn't something that I discovered. It was just something that we did. And
sure.
I kind of got burned on it. I was about 16. I was like I loved sports, and I was playing tennis and soccer and chasing girls. And I got off of it. And it wasn't until college really where I went, these guys in my dorm room were playing electric blues guitar. And that really lit me up. Now, that being said, Craig, my father does play guitar, and he played some folk songs and things. So technically, the first guitar that I strummed was my father's nylon string guitar. But it wasn't until college where I really went, it was something that I discovered,
Right.
And oh man, I just went deep in, man, and I did not go to class, and I just sat in my dorm room. I bought a like a really cheap Stratocaster guitar, my first guitar, and I just sat in my dorm room and I just played along with Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Hendrix that's all I did.
So that's when you were hooked. As soon as you started playing.
I went to college at East Carolina University. I enrolled in 1990. I think it was 1991. So I was 19, 20 years old.
So how did you go from there to get into the music business? Like, how'd you get started in the business itself? Now, wait a minute. Hold on. You said 91. Wasn't your first when was your first album release? It was 98. So my
first album, 97.
Okay, man. So that's a pretty, okay, good. I'll have some questions about that. How did you get started in the business? How'd you go from playing in your dorm room to next step?
To get into this crazy thing? Let's see. The first, let's see. I knew I was into it. My uncle was a jazz bass player, and he lived in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
And really, really eclectic guy. Had a radio talk show, super intelligent, an awesome guy. I mean, and a great musician. And that was the first guy I knew outside of my, coop or my nest that was in the music. So I went down there and I started messing around. I played in a Grateful Dead cover band a little bit. Just jamming with them, jam with some reggae bands. But then I quickly realized that I needed to go to where the music that I was listening to was born. And so, and that was most of it was Texas blues music. So I moved my ass to Austin, Texas in 1995.
Solely to get immersed in music.
Yeah, it was.
Man, that is like such, to me, that's such a high level of awareness and commitment. Honestly, man, that is.
It was weird. I don't. It wasn't really a decision that I made. I just went. I think that's when you know you're doing something right, is when you don't. It's almost unconscious, and you just.
Yeah, it's like you got called there.
I just went.
You got summoned there, yeah.
I didn't know anybody there. And I moved there in 1995. So that was some of the last chapters of old Austin.
Yeah.
Well, I got to experience the blues scene and the live music scene there when it was still kind of a little town. Sure. And that family, that music community there is so rich. And man, that's when I went to school. Cause at that time, I mean, I could barely hold a guitar, much less play it. And that's when I started meeting some others that were really playing, and they started to show me who influenced Stevie Ray Vaughan, and who influenced Clapton, and who influenced Hendrix. And that's when I went apeshit into T-Bone Walker and Gatemouth Brown and Charlie Christian and Lightning Hopkins. And, that's when I started really digging in. Jimmy Reeves started really digging into the real stuff.
Did you start playing gigs out there eventually then?
Yeah, I did. The first gigs I played, the first thing I did was go to blues jams. Okay. Because it was on 6th Street, man. It was like Sunday night and Monday night was blues jam night. And I got my ass handed to me so many times, just because I wasn't ready yet. But that's where I learned. That's where I watched all these guys, Alan Haynes, this guy named Mateo Basicio, Mike Keller, Johnny Muller. Later came Gary Clark Jr., and Nick Curran, but that was where I would watch these guys. And it was there's something about that Texas blues guitar thing that is just so unique. Anson Funderburg and Jimmy Vaughn, all those guys have this swing to it. It's just, and it was a huge influence on me. So that, to get back to your question, that's where I kind of started, was the blues jams. And then I got a gig playing bass in a little swing band with this girl, Stephanie Bradley. And we were just playing like Amos Milburn tunes and Nat King Cole tunes. And so that kind of got me into swing music. And of course, T-Bone Walker, I mean, all that shit swings. Sure. So that's how I started my first band. I was just doing jump blues. And next thing I knew, if you remember, in the mid '90s, it was the neo swing craze happened. And remember that, like Zoot Suit Riot and all these bands started playing all this stuff, and everybody was swing dancing. So next thing I knew, I had an audience of swing dancers. And that allowed me, to play a lot of gigs and to really start to hone my craft. And it gave me, it led me towards my first album.
What, you were always a solo artist, which I always find that's big balls. You probably don't realize that the day you decide to do it, but that's really difficult. There's a big difference between being a sideman. Not that it's easy being a sideman, but the level of responsibility is much less. Mm-hmm. In fact, it's funny. I've had guys that spent most of their career as solo artists, but they occasionally go and do sideman work, and they're like, "Oh my God, it was great. All I had to do was show up and play." Mm-hmm. So there's no management involved, which is like, that's where all the bullshit in the business and the pressure comes in. What made you gravitate towards, okay, I want to be a solo artist. I don't want to be a sideman.
I don't know.
Because you're with all these great sidemen, Anson Funderburg, you mentioned a lot of these guys. Well, Anson's got his own thing, but you know, a lot of those guys also did a lot of sideman work.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I guess, you know, maybe there's always been something in me, you know, burning down in there that I just kind of wanted to do it my own way, or maybe I don't follow very well. Maybe no one would want to hire me as a sideman. I don't know.
I hear you, man.
You know, I don't know. I just, it was, you know, kind of like that you're asking me about why I decided to go to Austin. It was kind of the same feeling as this. I just went with it.
Yeah. Okay.
I just, and fortunately, you know, have been able to pull that off for almost 2 decades.
Yeah, man. I understand what you said I always say about myself, I'm unemployable. Not because I'm a dick, but I don't listen. I don't want to be told what to do. I have no interest in like being the teller of but please just leave me be, you know. It's
like that Groucho Marx quote, you know, I'd never want to belong to a club that would have me as a member.
Right on, man. There you go. Yeah. Well, it's what you said about Bukowski earlier too, you know. It's like, yeah, it's like, I get that.
Yeah. It's not that I don't like people. I'm just happier when they're not around.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
So once you decided to get up and running, what were some of your challenges early on as far as like putting bands together, defining your sound, stuff like that?
Oh, man. Yeah, it was, well, gosh, I mean, this was all such a schooling. I mean, you know, in the early days, hell, I didn't even know how to count off a tune.
Oh.
You know, I remember I hired, there's one of my first drummers is one of the baddest in the land. His name's Frosty Smith. Now, Frosty Smith played with Lee Michaels. Yeah, man, he was a great dude. He played with Lee Michaels back in the day.
Yeah.
And this guy was a heavyweight. And it just so happened that I had gigs, these swing gigs. So I got to play with some really great, some of the best musicians in Austin at the time. And I remember him really schooling me, Craig, on just where the one was and how to count off a tune, how to lead a band, how to read an audience, to feel what kind of tune needed to come next.
Those are pretty critical.
Yeah, it was critical. And it was, I think the one thing it taught me specifically was the groove. If it ain't swinging and if it ain't grooving, it ain't working.
Yeah.
Because if they ain't digging it, if they're not dancing to it, it ain't working. And that was really, looking back on it now, haven't thought it's really fun to talk about this, Craig, because I haven't really thought about these old days in a while. This is cool.
Man, you just made my day when someone says that to me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun to dig back through this. I guess to get back to your question, what did it teach me? Yeah, it just taught me to keep to just pay attention and to keep digging and keep slinging it. Yeah, and make it groove.
If it ain't swinging, it ain't working. I got that, man. So I was telling you before we started the interview that I really enjoyed. So let me just tell people, usually when I have a guest on the show, I will listen to as much of their most current album as I can. Usually I get the whole thing in, but when I listened to Seths, I loved it. And I said, man, I'd be interested because it's swinging, it's grooving. It is working. Right. And it was just, he's got a lot of things going on there that, like, for me, I said, this guy's a deep person because he's got too many things going on there, and I want to learn more about him as a person. So I went back and listened to pretty much his whole catalog. And I told Seth before, it was so rewarding to see his progression both as a song, not that the early stuff was bad, so don't read into this, but everybody, including myself, if you listen to my first show, hopefully the 800 number is a little better than that one, but you know, it's just a progression of things, you know. And I wanted to talk to you about that because as a songwriter and a guitarist, your music got fuller, your arrangements got much bigger, man. And I think like that's a hard thing to do, arrange when you know, you don't play horns, you don't play B3. I don't think so, right? You don't play drums and you don't play strings. Well, you do play strings actually, but there's a lot to put that all together. That's very difficult. And I wondered if you could talk about your growth and the work you've done in these areas to you know, to get to that next level, because it's not like random. It doesn't just like, oh, well, it just happened. You know, you just work like anything else.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I had a lot of help. That, you know, the early records that I did, God, when I listen to them now, I'm like, God, who in the hell is that guy singing? I don't know who that dude is.
It's funny.
Yeah, but so, I mean, I was just copying shit. I was just trying to copy Louis Jordan and copy B.B. King and T-Bone. So they were original songs, you know, that I would pen, but you know, so I had to kind of go through that. And as you record and as you play a bunch of gigs, you know, you start to, you know, you learn what works, and you start to learn arrangements. You know, you try to, and studying the masters. That's where all the, you know, you're talking about arrangements. You know, you listen to those T-Bone Walker records, and it's beautiful arrangements. You know, and so that listening, having that as a base,
yeah,
did not hurt my chances when I started to, or hurt, you know, to hurt me as I started to try to make my own arrangements up. It wasn't until around 2002 where I got turned on to some songwriters. There was a couple, there was a drummer that I worked with who turned me on to John Hyatt and Guy Clark and Nick Lowe, Townes Van Zandt, Tom Waits. And that's when I started to, I did a record called Restless that was kind of more of an acoustic-y, folky thing that really sent me down another path. And that's when I started to really kind of to learn what was, and I made some some false steps too, where I was trying to be something that I wasn't. Yeah. And that's probably where you learn the most, right? Is when you realize that you're out of your own, you're not living within your own nature, and you're not being true to yourself, and you have to step outside to find what that is. So I don't know if I'm getting away from your question.
No, it's totally. I understand. I'm listening very intently. I'm not saying anything because I'm thinking of, you're 100% right. Yeah, when you
when you're out of there's a Willie Nelson book that I love. I don't know if you've read it. It's called The Tao of Willie.
No, I've never checked that out.
Oh God, he's amazing. Yeah.
The Tao of Willie.
I got it right here. The Tao of Willie. This is great. And he talks about, I mean, the dude's a freaking guru, and he talks about living within. You have to live within your own nature, and sometimes you have to get outside of that, as I said, to find out what that is. And that was some of those early years was a process. Like I saw Wilco at Austin City Limits Festival, and I went so bananas for Wilco. I wanted to be Jeff Tweedy, and I realized I was not Jeff Tweedy. No one can be Jeff Tweedy, and that made me realize, maybe took me a step closer who Seth Walker is.
How did you, that's a great response to that question. Thanks. How did you, this is the thing that separates musicians to me from most business people. There's something inside you guys from an early age that keeps you true to, like, you guys are aware of karma or the universe, but what, you know, where your place is within you. And that is such a gift. I didn't learn that till much later in life. So I'm sort of like so impressed by people that are that intuitive about where they should be. And I think that's so, I think it's probably the most valuable thing you could do for yourself in the world.
I agree with you. And how many times we find ourselves outside of that place or not in that pocket. I mean, it's an ongoing journey. I mean, I find myself, I find myself out of my nature daily.
Yeah.
And I have to check that. And, you know, Willie talks about, you know, look into, you know, he says, get up in the morning, look in the mirror every single day and see if that's the dude you want to hang out with all day.
I gotta get this book. That sounds so cool.
Yeah.
But it's like simple stuff, but it's really practical because you don't need too many complications in your life, man, to keep, you know, happy, really. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think the happiest I ever am is when things are silent and some like creativity, you know, it's not something that I own either. It's just being open enough as an artist, as a conduit to let it,
to receive it,
let it come through you like an antenna, and then you can transmit.
Yeah. Were your folks this whole time, though, they were really supportive of your career, I would imagine, being musicians? Yeah, that's cool.
100%. I mean, I'm sure there was a few times where they were like, you know, in the early days, you know, where I was, you know, tripping on shrooms, hanging out down in Jacksonville, Florida, you know, losing my mind. They might have scratched their chin a few times, but they've always been. I mean, they're my number one fans.
That's cool. That's
sure.
Cool. That's actually the number one thing that successful musicians have in common: support from the family. Number one by far, like 99+% of everybody I've had on. It's close.
Yeah, it's been wonderful, and they, and I mean, they've played on my albums. They.
Oh my God, that is so cool.
Man, if you listen to "Gotta Get Back" record, there's 3 tracks on that album that my father arranged. My father's a heavyweight musician. He arranged. I mean, there's beautiful arrangements. You know, like check it out. There's one called "Call My Name" is a track. Sound of Your Voice.
That's my favorite. Sound of Your Voice. Fire in the Belly. That's my favorite songs on that.
Oh, record. Cool. Yeah. Thanks. That's the string arrangements are my mother, my father, and my sister playing strings on that.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah, it was very special. They had played on some things on some of my earlier albums, but nothing like this.
That's great, man. Do you, when you do arrangements, do you actually write them out, or do you just know what they're supposed to sound like in your head and then tell the players?
You mean string arrangements or just
any arrangements? Like arrangements in general, like other parts, you know, like whether it's a B3 or horns or strings. Do you like notation write them out, or you just, hey, this is?
I don't know. I don't notate that stuff out. My dad notated the arrangements for the string parts, but you know, like I said earlier, man, I did not do this alone. I mean, I had so much help with the albums, musicians. I try to be open. I mean, I have an idea of what I want, and I know what I don't want. But I really do try to, you know, really be open and collaborative in the studio, especially because, you know, most of the guys that I'm working with have wonderful ideas, and I don't want to stifle any of that. So
yeah,
you know.
Let's talk about some of your music. You mentioned that before we started recording. On the Outside, in 2004, man, it's like, I think my favorite song of yours is Landon Davies. It's just a beautiful song, man. And I was curious, who is Landon Davies and what's the backstory to this song?
Landon Davies is my grandfather. He's my dad's father, and he's passed on now, but he a great musician, a clarinetist and horn player, and he he was in the Navy in the war. He was on the USS Hornet, an aircraft carrier and so he saw serious action. He was in the Battle of Midway. He was in the Battle of Santa Cruz is where that ship was torpedoed.
Holy crap.
And later sunk. So he was on the deck of the Hornet when Doolittle flew off of that thing. And yeah, he was right there in the middle of it. So this song is a tribute to him and a little bit of his story.
That's so. Was he alive when that came out?
Yes.
So he got to hear it.
Yeah, he got to hear it. Yeah, he didn't talk too much about the war. He was kind of, he would sweep that kind of stuff under the rug a little bit.
Yeah, well, back in the day, man,
that's kind of what you did.
Men didn't really talk about much. I don't think.
Talk about their feelings too much.
Yeah.
I remember I played it for my Manny, his wife, my grandmother, and she listened to it and she was like, "God, it's just so sad." And I was like, "Well, it's a song about a war." Yes, very, very sad.
It's a great track, beautiful track, man. Do you play that at shows ever?
Dude, I don't. You mentioned that in your email, Greg, and I was like, I need to play it. I mean,
dude, if I come and see you, I would love you to play that. I don't know if that'll ever happen.
You're going to get your money back if I don't play it.
I will. You're going to have to deal with me afterwards.
Okay, I better relearn my own damn song.
It's just a beautiful. It's extremely moving, man. It's a great song.
Thank you. It's a drop D tuning. That was a record that I recorded in New York City. Around 2003.
What made you go up there to record?
I was playing a gig, man, like in Greensboro, North Carolina, and this dude was down in North Carolina visiting his family or something, and he worked at this place called Dangerous Recording Studio in the East Village. Mm-hmm. He was the engineer there, and he loved my band, and he was like, "Man, I want you to come to New York City. I'll record you for free. You just got to just get yourself up there." And we were like, "Oh shit, we're going to go to New York City, boy."
Yeah.
And we went up there and did that album. And yeah, that's kind of how that all went down, man. That really.
Who's the engineer album, out of curiosity? Do you remember his name?
Shit, you would ask me that.
Well, I'm curious because I've had a bunch of guys from the city on the show, engineers and producers.
What? Oh my God, he's gonna kill me, man! This showing my age here, bro.
Dude, it gets worse. I assure you.
I used to be a steel trap.
Yeah, it gets totally. Get used to it. That's all I can tell you.
I'll get back to you on that, Craig.
Yeah, all good. So was it a good experience recording up there?
Yeah, it was. It was good. It was done mostly live to 2-inch tape. So this was not a Pro Tools thing. This was old school. As were some of my earlier records too. I recorded my first 2 records were on 2-inch tape at Pedernales Studios before the days of Pro Tools. But yeah, it was a good experience. Learning, you know, the more you do these albums, the more you do these things, you learn what fits on you, right? What you know, what your voice is. And so that was just another step towards finding my true nature, which every album is, which that album led me to a return to the blues. Because, you know, on the outside it was definitely a lot of different styles, and I was experimenting a lot. And I remember when I started recording my self-titled record, Seth Walker, it was more of it felt really, really natural for me at that time. Yeah. So that on the outside was a step towards that.
Did you get to hang out in the city at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that your first time?
It was cold. Oh my God, it was so damn cold, dude.
December, you said, yeah.
Oh, no, it was like one of the coldest winters they've ever had.
It's freezing up there.
Yeah, but I have lived in New York. I lived in Brooklyn for about a year.
Oh, yeah. Cool. What made you go up there?
My girlfriend at the time, she's a wonderful, amazing Broadway performer, dancer, actress, and singer. And she obviously needed to be there to work. Yeah. So I went up there, and it was wonderful, man. I mean, I love that city. Man, what an experience to be around that many people from.
The last 4 songs on your most recent record, Are You Open? They're great. And I was just curious, I want to talk about a few of them, but in general, are they like connected in any way, or they fit really well together?
Let's see, what are those songs?
That's No Bird, Something to Hold, Underdog, and Magnolia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you talking about musically or thematically?
Musically, yeah.
Musically? Well, I guess we can start with No Bird. Yeah, that tune was a surprise to me, how it kind of came together. It's in 3. It's in 3/4 time. This kind of a romp.
It's a bluesy, jazzy romp. That's exactly what I had.
Yeah, it's a romp. It's a romp. I wrote the lyrics with Oliver Wood from the Wood Brothers.
Wood Brothers, yeah.
Yeah, I wrote the lyrics with him after staring at a wire with No Bird on it. And
that's funny.
And
that's funny, man. You looked at the negative spaces and you wrote a song out of it. That's pretty clever.
Yeah.
No, it is. It's really like when you draw, that's what they tell you to do. Like, don't draw, if you're drawing a bird, don't draw the bird, draw the negative space around it. That's kind of like what you do with the song. You saw the wire without the bird. That's clever as shit, man.
There's a book called The Artist's Way, and it encourages you to draw something upside down. So if you're trying to, draw a bird, you draw it upside down instead of right side up, because you're just looking. You're looking at what it actually looks like, not what you think it looks like.
Yeah.
I've always liked that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I kind of got the tune started. And it's just, there's a lot of tunes on this record that are one chord, and 2 of those fall into that category. No Bird is just it's just in C minor. It just fucking stays there. And the guitar sound on that record, on that tune in particular, was really fun to get. It was it was like this Silvertone, old Silvertone.
I was almost thinking that, because I had a comment here. You did a great job switching between clean and then some really dirty short fills, man. So that's all you. It wasn't a second guitarist.
Yeah, that's all me on it. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome. So you used a silver tone?
I used a silver tone through a really, really, God, what amp was that? It was a really low wattage. I think it might have been
A Fender Pro Junior?
It might have been an old Gibson amp.
Was it heavy as hell? Because I had one of those old Gibsons too. I had to get rid of it.
I can't remember exactly which amp it was, but and sometimes I used a couple different ones, and I would just turn them all up, and get that really awesome sound. Actually, I have this amp that I'm using right now is like a Tweed Vibrolux from like 1958 or something like that. Man. It's like 8 watts, and that's where you get that tone, man. And so I would turn them up and got this. It really seemed to fit the track real well. A kind of a juxtaposition of the clean, rhythm track underneath it. So that tune snuck up on me. I was pleasantly surprised how that came out. The next tune is, which one was that? That's
the next
something.
Yeah, there's some very. I have some questions specifics about that. Deep lyrics, and then you talk about letting go in there, and I was that to me it sounded like this was some realizations you came to, or like maybe even a new period of growth. It's kind of a homage to, my father has always gravitated towards Eastern philosophy stuff. The Tao Te Ching is, I remember him giving me that book and saying, "This is the only book you're ever going to read, son, that you can't poke a hole in it. It's just a book of truth. There's no point of view in this book. It's just, if you let go, you shall hold on." That kind of theme. Right. So maybe that, bend and you shall be straight kind of stuff. And I'm sure that philosophically that mindset is what that tune's all about. And yeah. And it's a vulnerable song, man. It's just you and an acoustic guitar. It's pretty vulnerable. So, it's
actually the first. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm thinking, that is the first song I've ever recorded in 10 or 11 albums, including a live album, of just me and the guitar.
Really?
And I don't know why in the hell I have not done more of that, which I'm getting ready to change that.
Yeah, man.
I'm going to do a solo album coming up. That's my next project.
It was intense.
Yeah.
But I got my notes here. I didn't even notice that until the second time I listened to the song, because the lyrics were so compelling. I was kind of like glued onto that the first go around. Mm-hmm. And then the second time I was like, holy shit, this is just him and an acoustic guitar, man. That was
just me and the guitar with I played it on a nylon string, like a drop D on a nylon string guitar. And the funny thing about that tune, Craig, is that I recorded that thing, me and myself and I, like late one night up in the attic of my house. And because most of that record, Are You Open, was for the first time I recorded at my own house on my own pace. I had a producer, John O'Ricks, produced it, but I did a lot of the engineering myself. So I would record things on my own, which was wonderful, to not be at the mercy of someone to help me. And so anyway, I recorded this track and it got misfiled or some shit. It was, and Jono just found it. And he was like, "What is this song?" I was like, "Oh, that's a tune I just threw down one night." He goes, "Oh, what is going on the record?" Kind of thing. It was kind of one of those kind of songs. It just appeared.
Beautiful song, man. Great song. And then Magnolia, that's the last song on the record. Is that like about a breakup? Sounds like a sad breakup.
It was actually Yeah, it was inspired by that kind of feeling, but it was actually about leaving New Orleans, because I was living in New Orleans for about 6 years.
What made you go? Was that after Austin?
I went Austin, Nashville for 3 years, and then I moved to New Orleans for 6 years. And then I moved back to Nashville. And this was after I was leaving New Orleans. And it's kind of like a song about, leaving something beautiful, and which we have to do so much in this life. I mean, it seems like I'm always leaving something somewhere because I have to.
Yeah. What made you go to New Orleans in the first place?
Well, I had moved to Nashville. I started writing with. I wanted to leave Austin. I knew I needed to get out of the velvet rut. Sometimes it can be, and I moved to Nashville to get around other songwriters. I started writing with this Gary Nicholson and Jesse Alexander.
I know who Gary is, actually. Yeah.
And
he's written a ton of songs, man.
Oh my God, the dude's a monster. But I realized, Craig, I kind of got caught up in the gears of Nashville, the machinery of it. We talked earlier about your nature.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was steering my shit. Like I felt like I was calculating my music, and I wanted to get away from that. And New Orleans is, if you want to go somewhere where, it is not, things are not controlled, that is a good place to go.
New Orleans. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's such the vibrant spirit. It's all about this. It's all about the feeling. It's not here. It's here, and yeah, that's what down there.
So you went there to like reconnect with your soul almost, or allow your soul to get more connected to the music.
Yeah, I did, and to almost unlearn something.
Wow. That's interesting, man.
Yeah, and just kind of, maybe get back to, what made me pick this thing up when I was in that dorm room in college.
Right.
And I've always loved jazz and blues, obviously, and that's where Louis Armstrong. Right. That's where so much of this music came from, and the different styles and all of the Caribbean influence and all of the. Of course, the blues and all of the.
You do a great. You mentioned the Caribbean. You do a great job there, man, because you have it's so hard to put a Caribbean influence into music because most people do it and it just sounds like, it's just the groove, but the music isn't, like. White guys shouldn't do that is what I'm trying to say for the most part, and like you did a great, that was one of what I was talking about with arrangements and songwriting. You do a really good job because you could tell you like that. And when a tune comes on, it's like, oh man, he likes this, it's not like, oh, he needed a reggae tune. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, yeah, because you hear that a lot, man,
Yeah. Yeah, that is some slippery shit, But the thing about New Orleans music, there's so much of that Caribbean syncope, that push and pull feel. That it's like it's swung and straight, and that's basically what reggae is. It's just, I mean, if you listen to Bob Marley, the early records, it's like.
That's funny, man. It's swung and straight. I've never heard it.
Smokey Robinson with a little bit of different lilt to it,
Yeah, man. That's a good way.
It's all connected. Yeah.
So the last Magnolia is sort of like your homage to leaving New Orleans.
Yeah, kind of a swan song to it. Yeah, man. It's still, but it's still there. It's still blowing in the breeze down there. Yeah.
You had an accordion in there, man. It is so hard to place an accordion into music, man. You did really good job. Was that you playing it?
No, hell no. That was one of my longtime friends, Stefano and Telesano played the accordion on that beautifully. Just
yeah,
a little hole.
Really, that was really hard to find a slot for accordion in
yeah.
modern music.
It's always hard to find a slot for an accordion. It's like they talk about the accordion, the guy, the accordion player left his accordion in the back seat of his car unlocked, and he came back and he found there was 2 accordions back there.
Yeah, I can see that. Hey, people attracted to the blues. A lot of people are attracted to the blues, in my observation, because of their healing something. And if you're comfortable, and I was curious, was there anything in particular that you are healing through playing blues?
Oh gosh. I mean, good gracious. so I mean, God, it's like it's so much. Just just being alive is, you have to heal yourself.
No,
daily.
Yeah.
To try to navigate your feelings and your emotions and all of the friggin' unrest and the war and the hate and the misunderstanding, lack of compassion that this so much of this world suffers with. The blues is, it's definitely a place where you can channel those kind of feelings, and I mean, obviously, you think where it came from, where the blues came from was,
oh hell yeah,
exactly, that's where it all comes from. Finding joy and or channeling joy through that,
through the pain, man. Yeah.
Through the struggle. Yeah.
Seth, what were some low points or dark periods you've had to deal with in your life, and how'd you get through them?
Well, I guess, I mean, gosh, one of the lowest points was probably some, of my relationship struggles, and having to end a relationship that you love that person, but it's not quite working, and it's not healthy for you for whatever reason at that time, and not being able to actually have to know a reason why or an answer that when it's unknown. And so to accept these kind of things, that was pretty hard, Craig. Like, navigating these things, especially with someone that you care about and love. So that was super heavy, and that's recent for me. And other than that, just gosh, I guess navigating I definitely find myself depleted sometimes, because I'm on the road so much, and just trying to just give and just to leave myself open with my art. And that can be, when you're open like that, it definitely comes with a cost, because your nerves are exposed.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it's that has been the so nice for me to talk to everybody like that, because musicians are so comfortable being open. you know, and
we have to be. Yeah.
It's very,
if you're good,
yeah. It's very inspiring.
If you're good, you have to, and you have to really, I guess that may be sometimes, man, where when I get off the road, I just need to be in the woods. I just need to be silent. That's the only way that I can kind of replenish, and my spirit, because I want to share it. I do want to share it. I mean, I'm 11 albums deep into this and sharing, and I don't know how many gigs all over the world, and it's fucking tiring.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exhausting. But in the end, it's so worth it, to connect with people like you through the art.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're all here to connect, and just so we don't feel quite as alone in this crazy ass world. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I totally get that. Thank you, man, for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's talk about something a little lighter for a few minutes. We'll talk about some gear. What's your go-to guitar right now, and what other two guitars maybe would round out your top three?
Oh shit! Well, okay. We're gonna nerd out.
Yeah, man, let's do this.
Is that what we're gonna do?
Yeah, man, let's do this.
The guitar right back here is it's a 1952 ES-150.
It's a beautiful guitar, man.
I bought it in here. I'll grab it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Take a little look at it.
Oh, man. It's a beautiful. Yeah. So for people listening to this, it's is that a semi-hollow or a completely hollow?
It's a hollow.
Hollow body guitar, P90s, looks like, right? P90s, big body, man.
This is when I started getting into the T-Bone Walker music and the Gay Mouth Brown stuff, I had to have a big old arch top. And this guitar I bought in 1996 at a little place in Austin called Workhorse Guitars, and really was my and it's been with me this whole time. It's been on every single album.
Wow, that's it's 24 years, going on 25 years almost. That's great. And it's ES-150.
ES-150, yeah. And so it's a very versatile guitar. I mean, a lot of the early B.B. King records you hear, he's playing on one of these. He might have been playing an ES-300, which is has a plywood top, but the 300s had a carved top. They're a little bit more expensive. It's funny because I think the 150 stands for $150.
Holy shit. You know what?
$300.
I think you're right. Yeah, I've read stuff.
That's how that works. So a very versatile guitar. You can play jazz on it. You can play blues on it. You can play anything on this guitar.
Do you woodshed a lot? Because you're playing definitely got a lot more out in front over the years of your records.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just playing a bunch of gigs, man, and that's been my number one guitar my whole career, no doubt. And then recently, I discovered a Silvertone 1446, which I don't have it here, but it has two mini humbuckers in it. They're made by Gibson. And that's a badass guitar. It's really cool. It has a Bigsby on it, and I had never had a Bigsby guitar bridge. And I love that damn guitar. Because on this thing, it does have its limitations. You can't really, it's hard to kind of really get up in it, and in some ways. So the Silvertone is a good kind of I like using them both because the Silvertone plays a little more like an electric guitar.
Sure.
This kind of plays a little bit more like an acoustic type guitar. So between the two of them, I've got it covered.
Do you have flat wounds on that? Is there flat wounds?
No, I don't. I do use very heavy strings though. I use, I've always used heavies. This is 12 through 52.
Wow. Okay. That's a little heavier than normal. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I have an LG1. I'll show you.
Yeah, man.
This is a 1967 LG1.
Do you do a lot of writing on there? It's pretty Gibson, man.
This is what I write mostly with. Yeah. And I play live with it too. I mean, yeah, it's got a K and K pickup in it, and those are my main guitars. I had a 1961 Gibson 335 dot neck, like the ones on top of your head.
Yeah. That's not a vintage, but yeah, I know exactly. It's a 61. It's a slim neck, feels great. What did you do with it?
Dude, this is a tough story.
Buy a house with it? Or?
Oh my God. So I had a dear friend in Austin. His name was Curly Ferris, and he was really tight with Clifford Antone. You know, Antone's
from Antone's. Yeah.
So this was Clifford's guitar. And so all the dudes, Buddy Guy, Luther Tucker, all these guys, when they would come through, would play. This would be the house guitar. And I don't know what happened, man. I'm sure Curly was a lawyer, and I think he got Clifford out all kinds of jams. And this was payment to Curly, and Curly didn't even play the guitar. And I went to his house and saw it leaning up against the wall. I was like, what is that? He goes, that's Clifford's guitar. He goes, you just take it. Why don't you play it? And I played it for over 10 years. I played it on a lot of my records. And then one day he called me up and he said, hey Seth, I think I want that guitar back.
God, that must have been devastating.
Oh my God. I mean, yeah.
10 years of it.
That should hurt.
Yeah. You're pretty attached at that point.
Statute of limitations or something. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But you know, none of this stuff is ours, right?
Yeah.
So I was happy to give it back to him. I was happy to have it in my life for a decade. I do miss that guitar.
What was his name? Curly?
His name was Curly Ferris.
Curly, if you're listening to
Curly
this,
Ferris, yeah.
You need to find it in your heart to give Seth that guitar back, man. That would be like a great thing to do in the middle of COVID, unexpected, and he'd probably really be happy. So, all right, let's put that out there.
I'll write you a song.
You never know.
I'll write you a song.
He'll write you a song. That's right. He'll call it Curly.
Yeah. Curly.
Yeah, man. What's your favorite song that you wrote? What's that?
Those are the main four guitars I've had in my life.
And what do you play through mostly, like on stage and in the studio? That tweed Vibrolux you mentioned?
Well, forever I had a 1959 Fender Bassman.
Oh, holy shit.
Yeah, the big ass guitar. I mean, it was like 410s. It was way too loud, but awesome tone.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I played mostly through my career. And then recently, in the last 5 or 6 years, I started trying all different types of smaller amps because I didn't want to carry that son of a bitch around.
Hell yeah.
So I have a little Fender Vibrolux that was gifted to me. I've tried Fender Deluxes. I've tried Champs. I have a Gibson Discoverer amp. But mostly the little Fender Tweed is what I'm using now. Yeah.
Do you have
hey, Craig?
Yeah.
Well, I did want to mention something that my uncle is a luthier, a wonderful luthier in Greensboro. And he recently built me a guitar that I'm just getting to know, and it's got a wonderful sound too. It's more of like a J45 guitar. It's got a really nice, clean, beautiful, rich, warm sound. And he has a wonderful guitar company called Mariah Guitars.
Mariah.
It's Moriah, Moriah.
Named after Mariah Carey, no doubt.
Yeah, big influence on my guitar playing. Yeah, he's a wonderful maker, and this is the first guitar I've ever had that was custom made for me.
That's cool, man. What was unique about it that you had? Like, what was like the one thing that really made a difference, or that you put in there that you really wanted?
Well, I mean, I wanted a blonde guitar. I've never really had a blonde.
Yeah, I noticed you got all those iced tea sunburst kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted a blonde, so it's got a beautiful top on it, and I didn't have a J45 size guitar. I always had the parlor guitars for acoustics, and just to work with him and on the different dimensions of it, and knowing he's my uncle, and it was a family affair. It really was a beautiful thing. Yeah, it's cool.
That's not the uncle who played bass in Jacksonville, right?
Another amazing uncle.
So Mariah Guitars, Moriah in Greensboro, you said?
Yeah, Greensboro. Yeah.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite song that you wrote?
Ooh. Favorite song I wrote.
Or a favorite song to play, or a favorite song of yours to play.
Favorite song for me to play. Well, there's a couple. There's a song called "Grab a Hold" that is on my Sky Still Blue album, and I never get tired of playing that song. It always speaks to me. Grab a hold and we'll both go down together.
That's intense.
There's a tune. There's a tune it's actually on the Outside album that I re-recorded on Leap of Faith. It's called "Lay Down." Kind of a gospel-y, bluesy tune. One of the tunes, a lot of these things, the songwriting process is such an elusive thing, and sometimes you have to really whittle at it and dig through it. But that song in particular, I don't even remember writing it. It's always a good sign. It's very rare. I haven't written many that happened like that. Just like the damn thing just appeared. Like I didn't even write it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's called "Lay Down." But oh my goodness, 2 Feet Left to the Ceiling is a tune I love playing. That's about Katrina.
Oh, wow.
In New Orleans. And the last one, I know you asked me for one, but I'm giving you 4.
No, it's good. It's cool.
"Call My Name" is kind of a. That's one of the tunes that my father wrote the arrangements for on "Gotta Get Back," and I end many shows with that song. Yeah.
Nice, man. Thank you. Hey, man, give me your knee-jerk reaction. Top 3 Desert Island discs, just for now, because obviously this could change tomorrow or 10 minutes from now.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Donny Hathaway live record.
Holy shit! Wait a minute.
Would be.
Is there any chance you know a guy named Andy Hess, bass player in Brooklyn?
No, I don't.
I had him on the show yesterday. That was his first response. Donny Hathaway live.
Yeah,
that's pretty wild.
That's a badass record.
Great voice, man.
Oh, good God. I would definitely have to have a Ray Charles. Seems like I'd have to have some Ray Charles album. Some of the early Atlantic record stuff. Just
Atlantic box set. There you go.
Drowning My Own Tears. All that. Gotta have that. And man, I probably would have. I would probably have a Bob Marley record.
Oh, so you're big into reggae.
I love him. I really do. I really do love his music so much. Sometimes I feel like he's, even though he's such a huge name, sometimes I feel he gets a little bit underrated, and he doesn't sometimes get grouped into a complete, like, I don't know.
He's more like a
iconic
lifestyle for most people than a.
Yeah.
He's like a brand.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
it's a good way of putting it. But yeah. I mean, the man, the musicianship, the songwriting, the melody, the beautiful arrangements. I'd probably go with some Bob.
All righty. Best decision you ever made?
Best decision I ever made. Packing up and going to Austin, Texas in my Volkswagen van.
Dude, I have so much respect for that, man. Honestly, I really think that took a lot of balls. What makes you happy, Seth?
I mean, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but that feeling of that clear, that silent place where you can just be an open, like I said, an open channel for creativity to come. And when you stumble onto something, you know, that you don't own, that you just can embody for a little while, man, that makes me real happy. And being around my family is always makes me happy. Being around my niece and nephew, seeing them running around, it's just pretty joyful. Yeah.
That's nice, man. All right, tough question. What do you like most about yourself?
That was
I'm glad that was a priceless. It's like the way you turn your head around. Like, all right, we need to be wrapping this shit up.
What do I like about myself? Let me think. There's so many.
Yeah, that was fucking classic.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess I like the fact that I'm not scared to change. I'm not. I mean, sometimes I fall into little traps and ruts and get caught.
Get caught or catch yourself.
Yeah, I get caught in traps, and then I catch myself getting caught, and I really I like the fact that I've been able to somehow untangle myself, even though I know I'm going to get tangled again. I think that's one of my favorite things about myself, is to be able to continue to get myself out and back into harm's way.
You sound like you have a very a really good level, healthy combination of like awareness and but without the, you know, with no judgment on yourself. You know, you sound like you're pretty good. Like, you sound like you're kind to yourself when it comes to your music, like, and not judging yourself too harshly, you know, which I think is pretty healthy.
I aspire to that. It's you know, us artists are pretty sensitive little flowers sometimes, and it's easy to fall into that ego, you know, because you know, I mean, you're putting yourself out there, and you can, you know, I definitely have been known to be critical of myself and beat myself down, but I luckily have been afforded, I think, through my childhood and my family, to you know, give myself a break and to And
but that's important, man. People struggle with that, and like forgiving themselves, and that's like a prison, man. Like it's torture.
That's it. I mean, we're all broken, so you gotta be good to yourself. And I'm glad you brought this up, because man, it's like I'm learning that more and more these days.
Yeah.
When you look around and all this madness, man, we gotta enjoy each day. We gotta bring the goods. There's enough bad shit going around for all of us.
And the truth is, when it sounds cliched, but the truth is, when you are more gentle with yourself, man, it's a lot easier to be gentle with others. For me, speaking for myself anyway,
That's wonderful. Wonderful,
when you start like just not kicking your own ass, you're less likely to kick someone else's, judge someone else's. You're like,
that's
whatever.
Right. That's good. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's the truth. Mm-hmm.
Most important thing your dad taught you?
He taught me to, man, that guy's an open nerve, man. He's wide open. He taught me to go with that, to go with the feeling. And when it backfires, let it roll off your back. I mean, he had a band called the So Be It Union. So Be It.
So Be It.
I love that. That.
Oh, like Soviet, the So Be It. Yeah. Okay, now I get it. Yeah.
So Be It Union. Just Seth Rowe, so be it, baby.
Yeah.
Let it roll. And
I like that.
He's a very, very kind, creative man. He taught me to not be so jagged.
And how about your mom? What's the most important thing she taught you?
Oh man, she taught me. Well, she I mean, they both taught me to laugh, and have a good sense of humor at things. If you can't laugh at anything, you're up shit creek. You can't have fun, yeah. But she taught me mostly about compassion, and to think of things outside of your point of view, because you're not the only one in the room.
Yeah, that's such a valuable lesson, to look at things from others' standpoint.
Yeah.
You have any hobbies or interests outside of music?
Yeah, man. I love sports, man. I love playing golf. I love playing tennis. Hell, I wanted to be Andre Agassi.
There you go.
Yeah, we both got the haircut too.
Yeah, I was going to say, you look like Andre Agassi a little bit, man.
Dude, I wanted to be him so bad, man. I had the neon shirt and the mullet and the damn the denim shorts. I worked at a tennis club. I strung tennis rackets.
Oh, so you really have a passion for tennis.
I love tennis.
Yeah.
I played all through high school. I remember trying out for the college team at East Carolina. That's when I discovered guitar at the same time. And I remember going to one of the first like sign up to try out for the team. And they were like, you got to be here at 5 a.m. to practice. And then you come back after class and play some more. And I was like, no. I think I'm just going to play guitar and drink beer.
Play this recreationally. Yeah.
Exactly. But I love tennis. I love golf. I love to paint. That's why I went to school, was for art. And I love, and this newfound passion of mine is writing this book that I've discovered has really been, I really have had so much fun doing it.
Doing your autobiography?
Yeah, this memoir. Mm-hmm.
Hold that thought for 1 minute. I'm going to ask you about that. 2 more questions, man. Tell me the toughest decision you've ever had to make, or most difficult thing you've had to do. And you might have said it already as far as ending relationships.
Yeah. I mean, I think just being a band leader, you have to make so many tough decisions. You have to.
Yeah, man.
I mean, there's just so many decisions you have to make. I mean, you just count. I mean, there's just countless. You know, what tunes you're going to do? What tunes aren't you going to do? What gig you want to play? What gig don't you want to play? Or having to, you know, let go of a musician or change bands, or that stuff is hard, you know.
Yeah.
Because it's people.
Yeah.
It's other people's lives, and that's been a challenge through the years, and to try to do that gracefully. It's hard.
Yeah, well, the problem is if you don't do it, the pain of not doing it becomes greater than the short-term pain of doing it. But yeah, I know it's a tough thing, man. Tough thing. Mm-hmm. Hey, and our last question, Seth, what has been the biggest change in your personality over, let's say, the last 7 to 10 years? And how much of that has been intentional and how much is just a natural part of aging?
My personality, man, it's gone in the last 7 or 8 years. It's definitely gone through a lot of different transformations.
Yeah. That's a good thing.
You know, like we talked about earlier, like, you know, getting trapped and kicking yourself out of traps. And every time you do that, you stumble into a new version of yourself.
Yeah.
So and that's cool. That's exciting, man. It's like it's kind of fun. It's fun to get to know a new side of yourself. But I will say, through this last 6 or 7 years, I'm trying to get to know a version of myself that does not pander, and that does not, you know, crave empty applause.
You don't seem to be that kind of guy at all, man. I mean, I've known you a whole hour and a half, but but I mean,
it's easy. Sometimes it's easy. You can fall into those traps.
Yeah.
When you're a performer, you know, this is your job. So sometimes you can fall into things that, say, for instance, something works.
Yeah.
With the audience, you're like, oh, that shit worked. Let me try that again. And the next thing you know, you're steering things, and you're kind of getting away from your nature. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. But your specialty is like catching yourself. You've made that, you know. So I'm sure that, like, that's just being human. It sounds like, man.
I mean, you know, it's a never ending chase. But I can't remember what your initial question was, but I think the personality. Yeah, man, just, embracing not knowing what's next.
I like that, man. Hey, let's talk about, first of all, thank you very much. You're a very honest, very real guy. I very much appreciate that. And thank you. And I'm really glad we got to connect, man. It's been
right back at you, man.
Yeah.
Right
thank
back
you.
at you.
I want to talk about your biography, which hopefully when it's ready, you'll come back on here and we'll turn people onto it. But your van is on fire, man. You've had a great time writing this, man. Tell me about it. What have you liked so much about it?
I like it because a few things. Number one, it's not my job. It's not there's no bar has been set.
Yeah.
There's no expectations. So that alone is a very freeing place to be creative with.
Yeah, that must be tough. You know what? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's got to be tough. When you put out, you've had 10 studio records, you put out another one, there's a baseline. And even though you could say, well, I'm doing this, you have to, realistically, you have a bunch of people out there that are fans listening to Seth Walker records, and they may have an expectation, but which is difficult. But this, I could see why. My point is, I could see why it's so refreshing for you, because, hey, man, I'm writing this book. There's no expectations. No one's read my other Seth Walker book,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, people come to expect a certain thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's through my music, there's definitely an imprint.
Yeah.
Even though I have been able to do a wide range of things, and luckily my fans have been pretty much with me through the whole journey. I'm sure a few of them have fallen off through the years of my sprawling journey, but the book also, there's no grid, there's no song grid, so I have a lot more room to express myself and just tell all these really crazy ass stories from the road, and to really have room to describe that and in a long form, and that has been wonderful.
Wait, how long is the book?
It's probably going to be, I think it's going to be about 150 pages. It's short stories, essays. There's some poetry. There's some of my artwork is in it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's nice, man. And it's going to be coming out hopefully towards the end of the year.
It's going to be coming out. We're going to do a pre-order on November 15th. It's through Kickstarter. It'll be a pre-order thing, and you'll be able to receive them before Christmas if you order through the Kickstarter. So for your stocking stuffers, and then the official release won't be until the end of January.
That's cool, man.
But man, there's all kinds of just funny ass stories from just gigs gone to hell, bands on fire, great stories about opening up for all these wonderful guys. There's a section called Masters where it's tales about opening up for Dr. John, Alan Toussaint, Johnny Winter, and
which Johnny Winter? Old Johnny Winter, or like tail end of his career Johnny Winter?
It was 2006. We were on the same booking agency for a while, Piedmont Talent, and so yeah, there's a pretty funny story about opening up for Johnny Winter, where I met my first heckler.
Really?
Yeah.
That was the first. Are people generally not? What do you do with a guy? Like, why would someone come to a concert and heckle? Oh, because they didn't want you to come on. They wanted Johnny.
No, man. I'm the opener, man. They didn't come from me.
Yeah, right. What did you do? Yeah. How do you handle someone like that?
Well, that day in particular, I handled myself quite well. I kind of surprised myself.
What'd you do?
I stopped the band and I asked him if he would like to come up and finish the song in my place.
Dude, that is so smart. Awesome.
And he got pretty quiet after that. Yeah.
But if you did that in a real calm way, that's like instant shut up.
Yeah, it shut him down.
That's great, man. Because like if you would have been like, hey, motherfucker, you come up here and do it yourself, that doesn't look good. But if you're like, hey, you know what, man, would you like to come up here and finish the song on your own since I'm not doing such a good job?
Johnny Winter also has a very sprawling fan base. I mean, it was weird. It was like all walks, blues nuts, like old rock and roller has-beens that still wannabes, and to just the innocently curious.
Well, I look forward to reading it, man. I'm excited about it. November 15th, so it should come out around this time. So check out Kick. Where is it? Is it going to be on your website? The direction to the Kick. Yeah. Man, so let's do this. Go to SethWalker.com and it'll take you to the Kickstarter. And I hope you contribute to that and enjoy Seth's book. Anything else? Let me tell you. Okay, SethWalker.com. He's got a pretty robust website. Everything is on there. Also, Seth Walker Music on Facebook. So follow the page. Instagram. or like the page. Instagram, follow him there, and Twitter. I don't know what the fuck it's called on Twitter, but connect with him on there. I never get the Twitter thing, man. And also, he's got a cool YouTube channel under Seth Walker. And man, anything else that I forget or left out? Oh, tracks. What did we talk about? Oh yeah, you said you mentioned you consult with some people on writing from time to time.
You mean like collaborate on co-writing?
No, I thought you said that you did some consulting with people who wanted something to come to you for advice on writing in general or something like that.
No.
No, sorry, man. I don't know. I missed out. No. I thought you said to contact your manager for something, and I didn't write it down.
Yeah, I was thinking. I have been doing some of these Zoom. Concerts.
Right. Yes. Go ahead. Talk about that.
Zoom concerts where you can, hire me, and you invite your friends, and we do a concert together, like, basically like a virtual private concert. Yeah, I'm doing some of those. So you can contact my agent. It's on my website and inquire about that, which is kind of fun. I mean, obviously we got to improvise during this time, and I mean, I don't have any work, and I really like to connect because I miss that part of the whole equation. So.
Any ideas or like anything, like, do you hear any rumors of when, at least maybe in smaller clubs, things will start opening up? Any smaller clubs that are left anyway?
I know that really worries me, Craig, is that, a lot of these for a musician of my level, like 100 seat to 200 seat venues.
Oh yeah.
A lot of those people are not going to be able to survive this. And one thing that I'm going to be pairing with my book is Save Our Stages, which is a fundraiser to help.
That's great.
Help those small clubs that need it. But to get to your question, dude, I have no idea. I mean, I'm doing one outdoor festival in November down in Florida.
Where?
A socially distanced show. It's near, I want to say Brooksville. I think it's near Tampa.
I'm in Tampa, man. I'll have to look for it.
Oh, are you? Cool.
Yeah, I'm in Tampa. In fact, you've probably played Skippers. Have you ever played Skippers here?
Oh yeah, I played Skippers.
Done.
Skippers.
Done. They just closed.
Done? Oh,
done.
Shit.
I know. I saw so many great acts there, man.
Oh man, that was a freaking institution.
I know. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. Ybor City. I played. There's a new place I'm playing called, I think, the Attic.
In Ybor.
Mm-hmm. I'm playing some there, before COVID.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll let you know, man. It's on my website. Craig.
Okay, I'm gonna look. That would be very cool.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Well, hey, man, thank you for everything. I really appreciate it. Enjoyed talking with you. I enjoyed getting turned on to your music and now getting to know you, man. So it's cool. And hopefully I'll see you in November when you come down here, man.
Yeah. Thank you, Craig. It's been my pleasure. Honestly, really. Thank you.
Cool, man. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. We appreciate your support. Thanks very much to Seth Walker. Again, check him out on sethwalker.com. His Kickstarter campaign, when this interview drops, will be out. So go there and support him on the book. He's also on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Seth Walker Music, and on his YouTube channel at Seth Walker. And if you're interested in having a private Zoom concert, you can book him. Just get in contact with his managers. It's on sethwalker.com. And most important, man, especially nowadays, remember that happiness is a choice. So choose wisely. Be nice. Go play a guitar and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out. Seth, thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, man.